great activity for those interested in learning more about how the UN operates. Hundreds of thousands of students worldwide take part every year at all educational levels.
This year, MUN is back to LUMUN School, giving our students a wide range of opportunities for self-improvement.
Broaden your global vision.
Learn about the United Nations.
Explore other countries.
Be a leader.
Be a diplomat.
Be an investigator.
Gain experience in debating.
Improve your English language and public speaking.
Many of today's leaders in law, government, business, and the arts have participated in Model UN as students.
Including those who today are United Nations officials participated in Model UN as students.
Welcome to the world of diplomacy.
We will wait for you on September 19th at LUMUN School.
Dear delegates and members of the international press, it is a pleasure to be with you as General Secretary of LUMUN 2023. Now that you are assembled in your committee, allow me to begin by expressing our deepest condolences and solidarity with all those affected by the devastating earthquake in Morocco and the devastating floods in Libya. These heart-wrenching disasters have claimed thousands of lives and affected countless families and communities. Can we stand for a minute of silence for the victims? Thank you. Please take your seats. This year, LUMUN coincides with the high-level week of the General Assembly. It's the most important week in the year for world leaders to come together to take account of progress made in their nations toward the Sustainable Development Goals and to take some action for the good of all humankind. And action is what we need right now. LUMUN is being convened at a time when humanity faces huge challenges, from the worsening climate emergency to escalating conflicts, the global cost of living crisis, soaring inequalities, and dramatic technological disruptions. And in New York this week, leaders attending the high-level meetings of the UN will be assessing their progress on the Sustainable Development Goals at the halfway mark to 2030. The UN General Secretary will be urging individuals and organizations to present credible, serious, and new actions and nature-based solutions to the climate crisis. To answer questions on how to get funding and investments for development, the President of the General Assembly, in collaboration with the World Health Organization, will also convene heads of state and government for a one-day meeting to adopt a political declaration aimed at mobilizing political will at the national, regional, and international levels for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. The high-level meeting also presents an opportunity for countries and stakeholders to renew efforts and accelerate progress towards achieving universal health care. Finally, the UN General Assembly will hold the second high-level meeting on the fight against tuberculosis this Friday, 22nd of September 2030, under the theme Advancing Science, Finance and Innovation and their benefits to urgently end the global tuberculosis epidemic, in particular by ensuring equitable access to prevention, testing, treatment and care. Unfortunately, conflict and disasters have continued to force millions of people to flee their homes. Major earthquakes and storms have led to record displacements in various countries this year, not only Morocco and Libya, while new and ongoing conflict and violence have triggered significant movements in several hotspots worldwide. Some countries face a combination of conflict and disaster displacement, further complicating the ability of internally displaced people to achieve solutions. The impact of climate change is particularly severe in Peru. The United Nations Development Programme estimates that 67% of all disasters in the country are related to climate change. The frequency and intensity of events and phenomena such as El Niño and La Niña have increased. Between 2015 and 2019, episodes of heavy rain rose more than 200%. Floods increased by almost 100%, frost by 50%, and landslides increased in number from 19 to 322. These emergencies have a severe impact on the agricultural sector and rural populations linked to subsistence farming, artisanal fishers, women and indigenous communities, whose climate adaptive capacities are very limited. Peru's agricultural industry employs 27.4% of the economically active population and contributes around 11% of the gross domestic product. However, farming households representing 34% of the population live in poverty and 10.5% of the population live in extreme poverty. During these past months, we have already seen how the inhabitants of the coastal region, where most of the country's population and economy are concentrated, have suffered the full effects of El Niño. In the Sierra, the highland region, one of the greatest dangers is the retreat of glaciers, the acceleration of which would cause the migration of 28% of the inhabitants of the highlands, and also threaten one of the country's principal freshwater sources. Finally, the Selva, with its rainforest, is experiencing severe droughts, causing problems with fluvial transport of essential goods, erosion, deforestation, and risks of extreme heat stress and forest fires. In a country where the poverty rate is more than 20% and where social inequalities have increased considerably due to the pandemic, these environmental threats will further accentuate the socio-economic vulnerability of the population in the coming months. So, today in LUMUN, we have joined 83 countries in 8 committees. We will be looking for solutions to problems that affect not only Peru, but also the world. At the World Wildlife Fund, delegates will be looking for ways to minimize the damage to biodiversity from species extinction due to human activity. In UNESCO, delegates will be looking for strategies to combat the illicit trafficking of cultural artifacts, which is something that affects Peru directly. In the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, delegates will look for mechanisms to prevent drug trafficking and narco-terrorism in Central America. While in SOCOM, the Social, Cultural and Economic Committee, delegates will discuss approaches to eliminating racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance. Meanwhile, in the Human Rights Committee, delegates will debate procedures to counter violent extremism. And finally, the United Nations Population Fund will work on means to eliminate child marriage. And of course, we can't forget the members of press who will be covering the event today. We see this as a time to come together for real practical solution. A time for principles that are solid, ethical, moral, and humanistic. A time to assume and face the challenges of the country and the world. A time for compromise for a better tomorrow. If we want a future of peace and prosperity based on equality and solidarity, we, as leaders, have a special responsibility to achieve compromise in designing our common future for our common good. And this is the time and place to start. Thank you.
This is a preview file. 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 This is a preview file.